I'm really excited to see how these Pokemon are going to match up against each other because I think this should be a pretty dynamic matchup.
Yeah, I think there's some ways that each side probably have a better advantage here. The last two Floette in the field facing off, and last Charizard as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably going to have some difficulties in this matchup given to the opponents, but I guess also some potential positive matchups as well. Should be a lot of fun to see how this one plays out. The Venusaur in particular looked very good the last time we saw Arsal, but I think maybe not so excited to see the Talonflame across the field. So lots of like interesting interactions between these teams. Of course, Palafin probably excited to see two Fire-type Pokemon, less excited to see two Grass-type Pokemon, getting to see all of the first partner Pokemon triangle in action here.
The one benefit for Palafin here is that the Venusaur on Arsal's side does not actually have a Grass-type attack. Instead, it is running it's running Sludge Bomb and Earth Power and Sleep Powder. But that means that this Palafin over here is not going to be super threatened with a one-hit KO by that Venusaur, but won't be able to deal a lot of damage back. However, Palafin, once it gets rolling, Jet Punch and Wave Crash are just as strong, if not stronger, than Aqua Jet and Wave Crash from Basque Legion.
Yeah, absolutely, and we kind of seen it throughout the course of the weekend. Of course, unlike the first time we saw Palafin, a team go really crazy. No coaching on this Sneasler, so Palafin's going to have to buff itself, but it could be an opportunist match, certainly. It's going to be challenging for it to find the opportunities to do this in this game, but you know, perhaps if the right Pokemon are selected on the other side of the field, it can snowball a little bit too.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting game, and I also want to point out that this is the Swords Dance variant of the King Gambit, so another opportunity, 3 setup mons on Nick's side. So Floette, King Gambit, and Palafin, if any one of those 3 Pokemon gets a free turn, you're in danger.
Yeah, I think this really is the matchup that typically you use that sort of King Gambit for as well, with the Swords Dance boosted Sucker Punch after the held item there, going to one-hit KO a Charizard pretty much no matter how it's trained. So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't, but a fun thing to be threatening here with that moveset.
Also, seeing the Choice Scarf Garchomp makes you feel pretty happy about that, knowing that there is at least a Choice Scarf Pokemon that I am guaranteed to be able to Sucker Punch into if I want to. And should be a really interesting matchup here. Again, like we mentioned, this is more of the sort of grass type, chlorophyll type, plus a drought version of Sun here, as opposed to just sort of the balanced good stuffs of the Charizard Y teams.
Yeah, it actually feels like kind of a delightfully awkward matchup for both trainers where, like, I don't know if it, like, I guess Nick's team in general is like not really a variant of a standard archetype. It's kind of a new thing that we're discovering this weekend, but I think it's a little bit awkward for the more traditional Sun team to handle. And then I think in some ways that this matchup is also a little bit more awkward for Nick's team than the version of Sun that we were expecting to see this weekend. So another one where it should be fun to see what the players came together and figured out here, where again, maybe not something they had super clear lines into coming in the weekend, but likely during the other semifinal match, spent some time preparing for this matchup once they knew what it was going to be.
Yeah, you have to expect that that is what our players were doing in their downtime. Another mirror here, the Floette is also Calm Mind on Arsal's side, so 2 Calm Mind Floettes here, so it could end up being a damage and a buff race between those 2 Pokemon, depending on what Pokemon are actually going to be brought for that Mega Slot for this particular matchup.
I think one thing to keep in mind, not a whole lot of speed control in these games. There's the Tailwind for Nick and the Trick Room option, actually, on the other side of the field, even though, as we mentioned the last time he was up, not like a whole lot of Pokemon that actually want to be under Trick Room unless the Tailwind is set up by the other team.
Well, there's the classic Sun lead here. It's Venusaur and Charizard up against the Sneasler and Floette. So Nick, of course, only has the Floette as a Mega Evolution option, so has opted to bring that, immediately staring down the Charizard that resists all Fairy-type attacks, and the Venusaur that also resists those Fairy-type attacks and threatens big damage with a Sludge Bomb.
Yeah, onto both these Pokemon, right? This is why it doesn't know any Grass-type moves, because it can threaten Sleep Powder in either of these slots or try to go on the offense because it has the Earth Powder that Sneasler's weak to and the Sludge Bomb that Floette's weak to. So probably exactly the lead that Arsal was hoping to see here, and I think he has the advantage to start things out.
Yeah, great point. This is exactly why that Venusaur is not carrying a Grass-type coverage move. Instead, the Poison and Ground typing. Sneasler and Floette, 2 of the most common Pokemon in the format. Palafin, less so.
I think also, you've seen the Mega Evolution media, so Drought's going to be active. This is one of the things that could be a little advantage for both players, right? Right now, definitely better for Arsenal, but there are 2 Fire-type Pokemon on Nick's team, so we'll have to see what happens as this match plays out.
There's the sun set by the Mega Charizard Y that is going to boost the speed of the Venusaur, activating that Chlorophyll ability, while Floette is going to Mega Evolve itself, get a big boost to its stats, and also activate the Fairy Aura to further boost the power of its Fairy-type attacks. Nick does go for the Fake Out onto Venusaur, breaks the Focus Sash, prevents the Venusaur from going for Sludge Bomb, Earth Power, or Sleep Powder, any one of which would have been fine. There's the Calm Mind coming out from Floette to potentially, absolutely raise its special defense and protect against a Heat Wave, while Sneasler also just protects against the Heat Wave by dodging.
Yeah, hey, you like that, where I was about to say, oh, this looks like a lot like we saw in the final quarterfinal match where, the Floette got the Calm Mind immediately every turn and immediately got Weather Balled. Instead, we see the Heat Wave there, which could have been more total damage, but wasn't. And these fully healthy Sneasler now, a bit of a problem where it's the Doctor position for the Floette, where a double target here, even with the Calm Mind, would be pretty gnarly, but hard to do that, just ignore the Sneasler where the Floette has the option of protecting. So we're in a situation this second turn where both players are going to have to make a read, try and figure out what their opponent wants to do and make the most of it.
Yeah, the Venusaur, of course, with the Chlorophyll being the fastest thing on the field, means it does get to have the agency of going first. And the Sleep Powder connects on to Sneasler, so that Pokemon will not be able to deal any damage here. It does use its first turn of the mandatory turn of Sleep, while Floette gets a second Calm Mind here. It is going to start becoming very difficult to break through this Floette if it can keep getting those Calm Minds. It's down at about a little bit below half health, potentially still in range of a double up from the Venusaur and the Charizard, but then you're letting that Sneasler have opportunities to wake up.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of an interesting part of his call. Right? Do you use Heat Wave again and risk knocking out Sneasler into a Floette Protect, which might actually be good for Nick in order to provide the free switch, or do you, just kind of go for the double up into Floette with Heat Wave probably and Sludge Bomb and hope you pick up a knockout because Floette tries to catch you sleeping as it did on the previous turn. Another interesting position, and unlike what we just saw in the last round, it's not like we have something like Sinistra to switch in and heal up this Floette, right? Like it needs to be able to attack to heal up, and I can also do that where if Sludge Bomb alone isn't enough, Draining Kiss would certainly put it out of KO range from anything Charizard does, even though both these Pokemon are going to resist it. Absolutely.
The Floette sitting in between the Venusaur and the Charizard, threatening the ability to heal all the way back up with a big Draining Kiss now that it has +2 special attack. Venusaur Sleep Powder targeting into the Sneasler, catches the Incineroar on the switch-in. Speaking of catching them sleeping, Incineroar is now down for the count here as the Draining Kiss connects onto Charizard. Resisted damage, so it doesn't actually deal a whole lot, but the big news is all of that health that Floette just gained back. Another Heat Wave comes out from the Charizard, bringing Floette right back down exactly where it started.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And Charizard takes that very well despite there being 2 Calm Minds there. So again, interesting to imagine whether or not this could pick up a knockout if there was to be a double target of a slot, though. Floette would have to not heal for some reason for it to be realistic to be a knockout. But excellent catch on that Sleep Powder, where neither of these Pokemon have taken any turns of the sleep as well. So going to be pretty difficult to actually get in a position where they can act again. And Floette's friends kind of abandoning it here, where get those Calm Minds, that part of the win condition's done, but actually being able to use them is proving to be a greater challenge.
Yeah, someone please help me, Floette says. And here comes Sneasler, hoping to potentially maybe get caught by that Heat Wave to give a free position for Nick. Still asleep, doesn't want to have to roll the dice. It was able to take the first mandatory turn, but has still a very low chance to wake up on each individual turn. There's the Heat Wave into Floette's Protect, and there it is. Connection on Sneasler. It is now not just asleep, it is now fainted. But that does mean that Nick is able to bring in whatever Pokemon he wants. Probably not that Incineroar, so we're going to learn it's the
Talonflame. It is. So Talonflame now checking the Venusaur with the Gale Wings ability. Floette able to now not really pin the Charizard slot, but it looks like it's pretty comfortably a 3-hit knockout, so it could fire off a Draining Kiss into that slot if it would like to, heal itself up, and then continue pressuring the Charizard. So it's still not a great position for Nick, but 0 turns of sleep taken by the Incineroar. Yeah, it was 1 on the Sneasler because it dodged the Heat Wave, but still a very advantageous position for Arsenal, but no longer quite as dominant as it looked before, where now finally there's real pressure coming the other direction.
Yeah, the timer is also not Arsal's friend right now, as this was the final turn of Sun. So Charizard has to retreat if ARSAL wants to have the Sun up for later on in the game. Venusaur takes the first dual wing beat, takes the second, hangs on with just a little bit of health, but crucially, hangs on. Venusaur is going to launch another Sleep Powder. 3 for 3 on Sleep Powder connects, and now that Floette that has done a lot to boost its special defense is staring down a physical attacking Incineroar.
Yeah, this Venusaur looks like Vivian out there. You can't miss a Sleep Powder. That's big. 3 different Pokemon have been put to sleep again, none of whom have taken 8 turns of sleep. And Talonflame not exactly known for its ability to stay on the field for long periods of time. I think a really great job understanding exactly how much damage that dual wing beat was going to do. Surviving pretty comfortably there, though he would not have without the help of the Intimidate from this Incineroar. And now you could go for a fake out to protect the Venusaur if you wanted to, though it's kind of done its job, so like maybe you're fine either way. Really great start for the game so far.
Yeah, absolutely dominant positioning here from ARSAL now. Still has the Charizard in the back to potentially boost Flare Blitzes from that Incineroar should ARSAL need to do so. But yeah, this Floette getting hit by that Sleep Powder, there was a lot invested into that Pokemon, +2 special attack, +2 special defense, and now it is special defenseless in front of this Incineroar. Dual Wing Beat connects onto Charizard, deals good damage there, but would have loved to have gotten the KO onto the Venusaur last turn. Floette now finally taking a turn of sleep here, and then the Flare Blitz connecting onto Floette, and it goes down.
Yeah, easy knockout there, but I'm not sure what you're supposed to do, right? I think switching out of the battle, losing the Calm Minds is probably kind of just forfeiting anyway, and with it actually being knocked out, Nick does lock in the forfeit, so very decisive first game. Venusaur really dominating that game with the help of its friend Charizard speeding it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, Venusaur doing its best Pavilion impression, just getting the chlorophyll active, being the fastest thing on the field, and just saying, okay, I'm going to either threaten damage, like chip damage on your Pokemon, or I'm just going to take them out of the game for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one to think about running back too, where now that it's 1-0, how do you approach this for your Nick, right? I think if you're looking at the matchup, like, well, even if he leads Charizard Venusaur, what are the odds he hits 3 Sleep Powder in a row? Not very high. However, it's already happened once. So, if you just play this out twice more, the odds of it happening again, probably higher than you're comfortable with, right? So is there some way you can disrupt this? Do you bring out Talonflame sooner? We've learned that there is that option of just switching in the Incineroar to survive the dual wing beat, maybe trying to burn the Talonflame down, but I think it came out a little bit too late in that one, where unless Nick just thinks he's going to win via like kind of having better probability in the next one.
Yeah, either better probability or maybe just trying to get a little bit different positioning on there. But yeah, like you mentioned, it was really difficult. The Talonflame coming out so late meant that Venusaur was just never really threatened during that set.
Yeah, and it feels like a tough matchup for Nick, right? Where it's tough to bring Palafin against Charizard, where you're going to be doing reduced damage the entire game. It's tough to bring King Gambit, where nearly every Pokemon on the other side is effective against it. It doesn't have any ability to hit a non-resisted attack onto the Floette. It's weak against Charizard, it's weak against Scarchop, it's weak against Incineroar. It's actually weak against Venusaur also, where both Sleep Powder is pretty annoying, but it has the option of a super effective Earth Power, although it's a little risky because you could activate Defiant.
Well, it's going to have to be a big decision for Nick, because he needs to win this game or else he will be eliminated from the tournament as a semi-finalist. ARSAL, on the other hand, is only 1 win away from making it to the finals here in Indianapolis, and that would be such a huge accomplishment for this player who has had some decent success in the past, but a finals appearance, that's different.
Yeah, every new game, it seems like there's a player who just breaks out that first tournament, does really well, and then it kind of it's the start of something great. So maybe he'll be that player.
Well, there is the Incineroar now catching the Talonflame and Sneasler from the jump. Nick did make the adjustment that Talonflame probably needs to be out here ASAP, but ARSAL, of course, recognizing the obvious adjustment here and saying, okay, you can bring Talonflame, I'm just going to bring Incineroar. Yeah,
it continues to be a step ahead on this turn 0 play, and that makes turn 1 to his advantage again. Not awful or anything, but you probably need to get this Talonflame out of the field, right? We saw how powerful Venusaur was last time. There's still such a high chance that it's in the back. Like, do you really want to risk giving up your Talonflame this early? An awkward start, but on the other hand, Sneasler is in a decent spot. It could try to go after the Incineroar if it wants to. I could try to go for a Protect, perhaps. We saw Heat Wave is nearly a one-hit KO in the last game, and you really don't want to get Sneasler burned down either, I think. Again, with the potential of sleep in the back, losing Pokemon early makes that sleep that much more powerful when you kind of run out of options.
Yeah, there's the safest possible switch that Nick had available to him, his own Incineroar. We'll be able to get Intimidate down onto ARSAL's Incineroar and resist any Fire-type damage coming out from this Charizard. However, that is a big momentum sink, having to retreat the Talonflame turn 1. Now, Charizard has Mega Evolved. It does have the Drought set up now, so it has boosted the power of all of the fire types on the field. There's another Heat Wave that Arsal has opted for, dealing no damage to the Sneasler because of the Protect, and dealing good damage to the Incineroar on the switch-in.
That's okay, because that's a lot for that makes more sense. Okay, critical hit, so great start on that regard. And then also get the parting shot, right? So I get to make the switch after seeing the Protect and after seeing the switch-in. So excellent position again, once again, just kind of staying a step ahead.
When it's Garchomp coming out here alongside the Charizard, another extremely dangerous combination here. There is nothing stopping Garchomp and this Charizard from just going Heat Wave, Earthquake, Heat Wave, Earthquake.
Yeah, that's the dream with this team, right? We saw the Venusaur version of this strategy last game where you kind of see the slower play. Okay, I'll support you while Charizard knocks things out. Garchomp, but let's just speed this up, right?
Yeah.
Where gets in for free, doesn't have to worry about Intimidate anymore. Doesn't have to worry about a fake out potentially, but you can only fake out one, and both of them are threatening a ton of damage to this team. Sneasler is also like right at that point too, where if it was able to take rough skin damage, Heat Wave would be pretty close to picking it up based on what we saw in the previous game. So attacking Garchomp would be a little scary. It's gonna get out of dodge instead, but I don't know if a Talonflame's gonna be super excited about a Heat Wave either, so probably gonna see a fake out into the Charizard slot.
Yeah, Nick is trying to do whatever he can to get
the Rock Slide.
Oh, the Incineroar dodges the Rock Slide, the Talonflame does not. Arsal is rewarded by making the call, not going for the obvious Earthquake, recognizes that Talonflame is in the back. And you know what? Why not just go for Rock Slide here? It's going to deal good damage to the Incineroar, and at least it'll break the Focus Sash on Sneasler.
Arsal just feels so oppressive when he really gets to play the Sun move. We saw the same thing the last time he was up here, where he just like perfect switches every time. He knows exactly what his opponent wants to do. He's making great reads when Pokemon switch in. You know, if you're kind of wondering how did he get here with this team that people are kind of expecting, it's not because he's hitting sleep powders the way he was in the first game. It's because he's making reads like that.
Yeah, he's making reads like that, and he is really positioning these Pokemon and giving himself the opportunities where even if he got the read wrong, he was still in a fine position. There's so much time and so much space for him to come back from getting, you know, a Rock Slide wrong, Rock Sliding into the Sneasler instead of the Talonflame. But when you get it right, boy, is he in a big advantage right now.
It is interesting that he's leaving the Garchomp in here, where potentially, you know, a big pile of HP for Floette to absorb some health from. I do think Garchomp potentially still important here because Sneasler is a difficult Pokemon to remove, especially if he's able to, or Nick's able to stall up the Sun.
There's the Rock Slide, connects onto Incineroar and Floette. Only deals a little bit of damage to that Floette here. Does activate the Incineroar's Citrus Berry, so will heal up all the damage it just took. Floette does not flinch from the Rock Slide, instead gets to start setting up those Calm Minds. So there's the first Calm Mind. Arsal presumably just saying, okay, I think I have an opportunity to potentially fish for a flinch here and still be pretty safe. And looks like he was right there as the Floette went for the Calm Mind, did not go on the offensive. But now Nick is able to start positioning and pivoting here. Getting that parting shot down onto the Charizard is actually huge because it basically gives Floette one extra Calm Mind to the special defense.
Yeah, potentially at least, where I guess he had the damage trade. Yeah, I mean, I think what actually happens in this turn is really interesting, though, where Sneasler now threatening a fake out likely into that Charizard slot, and now the Garchomp can't protect. I think because of that, you kind of can't leave the Garchomp in. If you do and you get a Rock Slide flinch, you almost definitely win the game right there. However, if you don't, Floette knocks you out in one shot and takes all of your HP, and then you start fighting with a huge snowball the other direction, where Nick probably wins the game almost on the spot. So likely going to need to cycle this Garchomp. Unfortunately, I think whatever is in the back also going to be donating a lot of HP to the Floette fund. So a pretty critical turn. We'll have to see what's in the back.
If it's not Venusaur, that Floette is still going to be recovering quite a bit of health.
And even if it is, I mean, giving a free switch to a Venusaur who's now threatening a super effective damage on both these Pokemon, just like it was at the beginning of last game, which could instead enable some sleep powders. So I think kind of regardless of what's the back here, if it's Venusaur, Arsal's pretty happy, and there it is.
Yeah, it's very, very safe here to bring in the Venusaur. Actually, a double switch here. The Charizard also going to switch out for the Incineroar, putting down the Intimidate onto the Sneasler and allowing Arsal to bring that Charizard back in to reset the Sun. There's the Draining Kiss coming out from Floette, connects onto Venusaur, does a decent amount of damage. Looks like it might be it's a 3-hit KO, maybe a 4-hit KO, and not recovering quite as much health on that Floette, which is a big deal as Arsal is really trying to break through the defenses there.
Yeah, I love the pace that he's playing at, though. Now, again, another great switch, right? Okay, well, I know Charizard's going to get flinched anyway, so, like, why leave it in, especially after the parting shot? I should just get my own Incineroar in here. Is now going to instead reduce the damage of my opponent and, again, make it difficult for this Floette, right? Threatening a fake out into either of these slots. You know, if you go after the Floette and you hit a Protect, you're probably giving up Incineroar for free, which may not even be the end of the world because you get a free switch, but you don't need to do that probably, right? You can just go into the Sneasler slot potentially instead if you want. Some pretty good options here.
That's sort of the running theme of this set so far for Arsal is plenty of good options available. There's the Protect coming out from Floette. Venusaur does opt to target down the Sneasler with that Sleep Powder. So Sneasler now is going to fall asleep. Will take its mandatory turn of sleep here. And now Incineroar gets to fire off a Flare Blitz. The last turn of Sun here would have dealt big damage to Floette, but Floette just had to protect itself. But at the same time, it just protected itself, and now it is, again, extremely vulnerable to a Sleep Powder.
Yeah, and Charizard could come in here and just reset that Sun, right? Not a lot of pressure going the other way with Sneasler having fallen asleep on the previous turn, and the pace that Arsal's playing at just wonderful. You know, when he's playing this quickly, this well, and hitting all the Sleep Powders are real tough to beat.
Yeah, this is one of those, the way he's playing is just, you can tell that he's in that flow state. Like, he knows exactly what he wants to do. He is feeling himself here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, look at the difference in the your time, right? Where Nick's about halfway done, and it seems like, you know, Arsal's barely spent a minute.
Well, there's the Draining Kiss into Incineroar, deals good damage. No switches here. Arsal does not need to bring in the Charizard just yet. Citrus Berry will recover some of the health from Incineroar as well, but there is the double up. There is the Sludge Bomb into Floette, deals good damage to that Pokemon. And now here comes the Flare Blitz from Incineroar. There is no Sun, but it is not enough damage. Floette hanging on with 5 hit points. Incineroar takes a little bit of recoil damage, and now it is potentially a little spooky, but you always have the ability to bring in the Charizard and activate the Chlorophyll again.
Yeah, and I think at that point, you know, it's looking really bleak. Sneasler probably not going to pick a one-hit KO unless we see another crazy Dire Claw, perhaps. Venusaur really checking this team well. They're also like really close to the point where I think even with the Draining Kiss, it might not heal enough to get out of Sludge Bomb range. I think it was like 60-something damage in the last time. So looking at Incineroar's HP, I'm not sure that math checks out.
Yeah, that's definitely Floette is in danger right now from all sides on Arsal's team. And this has just been so well played. I love this Venusaur. The Sleep Powder, Sludge Bomb, and Earth Power is really putting so much pressure onto Nick.
Yeah, especially, you know, the missing grass move hasn't really mattered, right? Like, are you really going to pick your water type Pokemon into this anyway? I don't care.
why don't I want a grass type move? What am I hitting with a grass type move? Sneasler? Nah. There's the Charizard now out on the field. Floette forced to protect, trying to buy time for this Sneasler to wake up. Sneasler does have the ability to wake up this turn, does wake up, is going to be able to fire off an attack. There's the Dire Claw into Venusaur. Needs something big here. Not a KO, no critical hit, and no procs on the Dire Claw.
Ooh, that's tough. So now the Floette is still totally pinned, either going to be knocked out here or have to switch out with 5 HP. Certainly no chance of setting up again after that. And things are looking tough here. If it is knocked out or whatever other Pokemon that slot is, because you could just go try to fish for that Incineroar maybe within Earth Power now with how weakened this Floette is. You know, a single target Heat Wave would definitely knock that Sneasler out based on what we've seen before.
Yeah, the Sneasler does have the Focus Sash, so as long as it's still at full health, it can still make something happen here.
Yeah, I guess you're close on the Dire Claw damage there. Like that and a Fake Out would do it, I guess, but I just don't know how you get in position to do that and also turn things around for the Floette to do enough damage.
Yeah, that's the big problem there. The Floette sitting at 5 hit points needs to be able to get a Draining Kiss off, but there are very few opportunities. Goes for the double protect, just trying to buy a little bit more time. Venusaur targets down the Floette with that Earth Power, just hoping to catch, potentially catching the Incineroar should it switch in here. But now Floette is down. Sneasler with the Dire Claw connects onto Venusaur, is able to pick up the KO with that second Dire Claw. Should Floette have hit that double protect, it may have been a little bit different here, but like you mentioned, single target Heat Wave, Sneasler down to Focus Sash. It's Sneasler and Incineroar, and ARSAL Puri is so close to becoming a finalist. That'll do it. The burn will knock out the Sneasler, and now it is just Incineroar. No options remaining for Nick Navarre. ARSAL Puri is going to make it to your finals here in Indianapolis.
And what an incredible set by him. I mean, there's not much that Nick could do. Every sleep powder hit, every read was perfect. Just playing so quickly, especially in that second game. Just every turn, rapid fire. It seemed like he was like a turn ahead out of team preview, and it felt like by the end of the game he was 3 turns ahead. Where every read was so clever. It just seems like he's played so many games with the team. It looks like, or looks very well practiced, knows his lines perfectly.
Hey trainers, don't forget to tune in to the 2026 North America International Championships, where you can receive a special reward through Twitch drops to commemorate NAIC, the first international championships event to host Pokemon champions. Watch live on twitch.tv/Pokemon from June 12th to 14th to earn a special Blastoise with a Cherish Ball and a powerful moveset of Water Spout, Water Pulse, Aura Sphere, and Shell Smash. Terms apply. Visit rewards.pokemon.com for more information.